Hey guys, Lego27Bricks here, and I'm bringing you a video on my newest Lego creation, my Lego Game Boy Advance. And I'm happy with this creation, but I'm also kind of dissatisfied with it. I think I kind of nailed the shape of it, and there are some details that I really think I just completely captured the look of. But then there's other things like the start and select buttons that I just couldn't incorporate. And I guess along with these sound things, which I think some 1x2 grill tiles would have actually worked really well in this case, because these are horizontal and they're barely diagonal, so I think they would have really worked well, but I could just not incorporate them. So that made me really sad. And since I still don't have my tripod and it's a closed-in space, I'm going to kind of do both consoles separately, just kind of show them around. Alright, so that's the actual Game Boy Advance. Now moving on to the Lego one. And that's that. And I couldn't incorporate a lot of the bottom details just with the way I constructed this, which that kind of made me unhappy, but at the same time, I didn't think I could really incorporate them anyway. Even if I went with other techniques, I still couldn't have incorporated them. So I'm not too bummed out about missing these small little details. I am bummed out about missing the start and select button in this, though. One detail I'm actually incredibly proud of is if you look at the actual system, the shoulder buttons have this small little gap between the two gray areas, and I managed to incorporate that in the Lego one, as you can see here. And I was just really happy that I could incorporate that. That's like a really small detail that most people, if you ask them if the GBA is like just kind of had a gap between these two areas, most people would be like, what the heck are you talking about? But I was really happy I could incorporate this. And I'm probably most proud of the actual shoulder buttons, because I think they look pretty close to the actual things, except being a little bit too long, which I think I could shorten them, since I now have more 1x3 tiles, but I'm not positive. So before I go down into breaking this down all the way, I do want to discuss one thing, and that's the D-pad. Now, as you may or may not be able to see here, the actual GBA's D-pad is really quite a bit smaller than this Lego version's. And I could just not think of another way to like get this D-pad any smaller and still stay symmetrical. So I did try some things, but I wasn't really able to incorporate them into such a small space, which is really a shame because it's noticeably too big, and that's probably one of the biggest flaws, other than maybe kind of the blocky nature of it, but in this case I don't think I could really help the blocky nature of it. Like, the screen area was really round on the actual thing, so it was pretty hard to incorporate that. But I guess I should now go down into the breakdown. The back is really simple snot. Alright, that, and that. Alright, so as you can see here, there's two different halves to the back, actually. The bottom half fits onto this 1x4 with 4 studs, and to these 1x1 with 1 studs over here. Then the top part fits to this one, and it's mainly to create a small little offset. It kind of fits half and half, see, like half a plate over here, half the width of a 1x1 plate over here, and over here. And that offset is needed because if I kept it like the bottom part here for the top, it would slightly go over this gray area, which I didn't want, so I had to create that small offset doing this, which isn't anything complicated. Now, also, I'm going over the shoulder buttons, which I'm really proud of, as you might be able to tell. I just think I really nailed this part. And if you can't tell, that's the new 1x2 clip, which at first I thought was a pretty useful piece, but now I'm kind of like, this is actually a pretty useful piece. Now, for basic clips, you can actually fit like pretty much anything that's a plate in width in the clip. So, for example, here's a tile, which, you know, is the height of a plate, just fits in there perfectly. Now, this area here, that small little area, is essentially half this thickness, essentially, because as you can see here, there's still a little bit left, and if I were to take another tile and pop it in there, it fits and it's pretty snug. You can also bend it quite a bit, as you can see. So that's how I got the slant, because it just bends so much. And this is a pretty cool technique. I've used it in some other things. It can, like, even minifig hands have this property, so you can use it to make something appear really thin, but on the underside it's held together completely by clips and stuff, which is fragile, but, you know, it adds a certain effect. And I'll go on with this bottom curve, because if you haven't noticed, there's a couple offsets, like there's a half plate offset here, and a half plate offset here and here. And this one is fairly self-explanatory, I think, because if you just look at the back, there's a headlight brick that causes it. If the headlight brick were right here and pointing downwards, it wouldn't be there. It's just simple kind of Lego math there. But I am kind of happy about how I incorporated it in this area right here. Now, this is what is known as a headlight brick, and this is a very versatile piece for a lot of snot work. It's one of my favorite pieces. I'm just going to put that there for a second. And if you didn't know, you could invert studs with headlight bricks. So now you have a stud going up and a stud going down, as well as a pointless stud going sideways, you see. And with that, you can invert studs, which is pretty cool. It's a fairly interesting property that's very versatile. Unfortunately, there's a hole on this side and a stud on this side, but as you can see, the studs are going two different ways. And it's a brick in height, as you can see. So that's pretty cool. So, excuse me, using this, I created the ability to, this is studs going up, and then this is going studs down, or studs up as well. And that was done just with this headlight brick thing. And then this area over here, I created a half plate offset using the same technique, kind of. That sideways stud I was saying is useless. It's not completely useless. I've found some uses for it. I mean, I think it's mostly useless, but sometimes it proves to be kind of helpful instead of unseemly. So as you can see there's a half plate offset, and that's how I created it here. And then this 1x1 with stud on either side is used to connect to the screen into this blue portion here, as you can see there, and I did that on both sides. And that's really all I have to say about this. I don't think there's really much else to say. I guess one other complaint I have is this area here that cover the shoulder buttons, because the curve's going the wrong way, but there's just not a piece I could think of that would kind of slope like this instead of like that. So I'm just going to assemble this and show it off one more time, I guess. I also really like the back and how that turned out. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.